My name is Lily Harris, and on October 12th, 2023, I died. Yes, you heard that right. I died for exactly 13 minutes and 42 seconds. But what happened in that time changed everything I thought I knew about life, technology, and even the very core of our souls. I was just living my regular life, caught up in the rush of everyday things. My phone was always in my hand, my laptop always open. I thought I had it all under control, but deep down I knew something was missing, something I couldn't quite put into words. I thought I was fine, but I was addicted to screens, to distractions, to everything that kept me from truly living in the moment. It wasn't until that moment, the one where my body lay broken on a downtown street after being hit by a truck, that I learned the most powerful lesson of all. I didn't just encounter death, I encountered the truth. And this truth is one that I have to share with you today. But before I tell you the full story, let me ask you, how much of your life do you spend on your phone, scrolling mindlessly, jumping from one notification to the next? Do you feel something is missing too, even though you're surrounded by all the noise and distractions? Because when I died, I realized we are all on the edge of losing something much bigger than we think. We're losing our connection to each other, to God, and to our true selves. Stay with me, and I'll show you what I saw. The fog that morning in downtown Seattle was thick, like soup, they said. The city was quiet, people rushing about, the usual bustle of life. I was walking to a meeting, running late, eyes glued to my phone as usual. A video popped up on my feed, something funny, something viral that I thought would help me unwind. I didn't even notice the traffic around me as I stepped into the street. Then, in a split second, the world shifted. The delivery truck hit me so hard I was thrown nearly 20 feet. My body crumpled instantly, my skull fractured, my ribs caved in. I felt my heart stop. The pain was overwhelming. Then, nothing. I was gone. Or so I thought. I don't remember when the pain vanished. I don't remember the moment my body died, but I do remember what happened next. My spirit wasn't floating. It was like being pulled upward, like being drawn by a magnet at the speed of thought. There was no fog, no weight. The world disappeared. I was in a place that felt so peaceful, so pure. I didn't have a body anymore, but I felt completely alive, more alive than I had ever felt before. I was in a realm of light. Not just any light, but pure, shimmering awareness. Every part of this place pulsed with truth, with something far beyond what my earthly mind could comprehend. And then I felt it. There was a presence. It wasn't a man. It wasn't an angel. It wasn't even a being. It was a force of love and holiness. A presence that was so overwhelming, so massive, that I felt small but safe, like a child in the embrace of a parent who loved me beyond measure. The presence didn't speak to me with words, but with feelings, straight into my soul. I could hear the words, but they weren't spoken out loud. "Welcome, my child." I knelt, or at least I felt like I did. I didn't have a body anymore, but my soul bent low, a gesture of absolute reverence. I knew instantly that this presence, this force before me, was God, not the God I had learned about in church sermons or through online debates. This God was not a distant figure. He was power, compassion, judgment, mercy, light, and love, all wrapped into one overwhelming force that flooded every corner of my being. I could barely hold it. It was too much. Yet I felt safe, like I was where I was meant to be. And then I was shown something. I wasn't asking for this vision, but it came anyway, flooding my consciousness like a rushing river. I saw a timeline, a breathtaking view of humanity's journey through invention. It started with simple stone tools, then fire, the wheel, writing, printing presses, electricity, radio, television, and then it zoomed forward, fast-tracking through the internet, smartphones, and finally AI. I felt awe and wonder as I saw how humanity had advanced, building and creating, making the world more connected. It was beautiful, and I could feel that God wasn't angry at humanity for these creations. He didn't condemn our ingenuity, but rather He honored it as part of our divine purpose. But then, the tone of the vision shifted. I saw threads of light connecting people, glowing golden lines stretching from one person to another. These were the threads of love, of relationships, worship, prayer, and community. They hummed with something holy, something that connected us all in a deep, spiritual way. It was pure and beautiful. But then, I saw something else. New threads began weaving into the light, the new digital cords. They were glassy and flickering, synthetic and artificial, screens, apps, filters, echo chambers. They began to replace the golden threads weaving between people, replacing real connections with fleeting digital ones. At first they seemed harmless, even helpful, but slowly I watched as these synthetic cords dimmed the golden threads one by one, like turning down the brightness on a once vibrant light. Do you see it? God's presence asked me gently, not with words, but deep within my soul. I didn't want to answer, but I knew I had to. Yes, I whispered. We've replaced each other with pixels. The presence didn't accuse me, it didn't shame me, but it showed me the truth, plain and clear. I watched as people all over the world sat behind glowing rectangles, phones, tablets, laptops. Faces lit up, yes, but not with joy. They were lit with the cold, blue light of screens. And their spirits? Their spirits were dim. I saw teenagers crying silently while uploading selfies, desperately seeking validation from strangers. I saw marriages unraveling in bedrooms, not because of arguments or fights, but because both partners were too absorbed in their phones, too distracted by the digital world to even notice the other. I saw children tugging at their parents' sleeves, begging for attention, but the parents were too busy scrolling through their feeds, unaware of the cries of their own flesh and blood. These tools are not evil, the presence said, but they have become idols. You have let them take my place. That truth struck me like a thunderclap in the soul. The weight of it was unbearable. We had all traded the true connection we were meant for, connection with each other, with God, with our own hearts, for these synthetic, empty connections. We had let the digital world take over our lives, replacing the real relationships that make us human. And the worst part? We didn't even realize it. We had become so addicted to the noise, the constant stimulation, that we could no longer hear the whisper of God's voice. Our souls were numb, disconnected from the divine, distracted by the endless scroll, the never-ending stream of content. I saw the world I had been living in, the one I thought was normal, and in that moment I realized it was all a lie. And then came the warning. I saw the future not as prophecy, but as a warning, the future we were headed towards if we didn't change. It wasn't a world of fire and brimstone, but it was just as terrifying in its own way. In this future, I saw children who could no longer hold eye contact. They couldn't talk to each other without fidgeting with their phones. Their faces were buried in screens, their hearts closed off, disconnected from the people around them. No one seemed to truly see each other anymore. Conversations were shallow, the silence between words filled with the constant buzzing of notifications. No one knew how to be still. No one could just sit with themselves anymore, not without checking their phones every few minutes. Churches, once full of people coming together in worship, were now empty, not because people had lost their faith, but because they had lost the ability to be still enough to hear the still, small voice of God. The silence of the churches was not one of reverence, but of apathy. People no longer had the patience to sit in quiet reflection, to meditate, to pray. They had become so accustomed to the noise that they couldn't stand the stillness. And that was the saddest part. We had become addicted to noise. Noise in our ears, noise in our eyes, noise in our minds. Our souls had been dulled, and in the process, we had lost the ability to connect with what truly mattered. But there was still hope. In the midst of this vision of a disconnected world, I saw a small, beautiful thing, a remnant, a group of people who had awoken. They had recognized the danger of this digital addiction and had chosen to live differently. They were not perfect, but they had made a conscious decision to break free from the noise and distraction that had taken over the world. I saw families sitting around dinner tables, their phones put away. They were talking, laughing, truly listening to each other. I saw people lifting their hands in prayer, their phones forgotten in their pockets. I saw teenagers putting down their devices and picking up journals, writing down their thoughts instead of scrolling through endless feeds. I saw businessmen taking breaks from their emails to kneel beside their desks and pray. These people had chosen presence over performance, depth over dopamine, stillness over stimulation. And every time they made that choice, the golden threads returned. They began to glow again. The connections that had once been replaced by synthetic cords were now revived, shining brighter than ever before. The presence spoke again, its voice soft but powerful. "This is the way forward," it said. "This is the path that leads back to true connection, connection with me, with each other, and with your own hearts. The choice is yours." And with that, I knew my time there was over. The presence didn't push me away, but I could feel it gently guiding me back, urging me to return. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in that place of pure love, of pure connection, but I knew that I had a purpose to fulfill, a message to share. The next thing I knew, I was back in my broken body. I woke up in a hospital bed, surrounded by doctors and nurses, all talking about how I had survived. They called it a miracle. There was no medical explanation for how I had come back from the brink of death, no reason why I should have been alive. But I knew. I came back for a reason. I came back to warn you. Since that day, everything has changed. I still own a phone. I still use a laptop. I still live in this world of technology. But now, technology no longer controls me. It doesn't own me anymore. Every morning before I turn on my screen, I spend 30 minutes in silence. No phone, no computer. Just me, breathing, sitting with my thoughts. I've learned to appreciate the stillness, the peace that comes with unplugging from the noise. I choose real conversations over endless scrolling. I choose presence over distraction. I speak at churches, at youth groups, at schools. I share my story. I teach people about spiritual digital discipline, about how to unplug their hearts from distraction, how to reconnect with themselves and with God. I've dedicated my life to helping others find the same peace I found during those 13 minutes. I pray every day now, Lord, help me live like you're watching, not like the internet is. But this isn't just my story. It's our story. It's a story that's still unfolding, and it's up to each of us to choose which path we will walk. Will you choose the path of connection, of real human relationships, or will you let the digital world keep you distracted, numb, and disconnected from what truly matters? I came back for a reason, and now it's your turn. Please, if you're watching this, I urge you, take a moment to reflect. Look around you. Are you truly connecting with those you love? Are you living in the moment? Or are you letting the digital world take you away from what matters most? If my story touched your heart, please share it. Let's start a movement. Let's choose presence, choose love, and choose silence over the noise. Reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and with God. And if you need prayer, please leave a cross in the comments below. You are not alone.